in journalism, I found something, just experimenting with it, and I found something that was instantly rewarding to me. It had that variety of days. In other words, you weren't going to be doing the same thing every day. Every day would be a surprise. I couldn't decide what I wanted to be in life, and I ended up at a radio station at the University of Denver. I wanted to be a DJ, and I was told that if I worked in the news department at this little radio station on campus, that I would then be promoted more rapidly to become a DJ. And it was all a trick. It was a scam that got me into the news business, got me into the newsroom, and I never got out. In radio, you work alone, and that's rewarding, oftentimes. But if you want to do investigative journalism, you really need a team. You need somebody to be reading your scripts, going over them line by line. You need to learn from others. And I quickly caught on with television and found it was the way that I could express myself very easily. Not only with the words, writing the words, but I could also tell a story in pictures, see it. See the story myself in my mind's eye and project it onto a screen. I started out as an assignment editor, and it just so happened that on my first day of just coming in to check things out, I discovered a story. And it was a minor story, but for a local news channel, it had attraction. That was that a child was hit in a crosswalk. And the news director said, "You found the story, you go cover it." And so I went and I covered it. And I had William Moore was the cameraman. And Billy Moore told me, he said, "Get in the car that had hit this child in a crosswalk." And he said, "Pump the brake." And I said, "Well, yeah, but isn't it illegal to get in the car?" And he goes, "It's a $50 trespassing charge. Just get in the car and I'll take the video." Well, it was film, 60-millimeter film then. And I did. Came back with the story, and the news director said, "I couldn't tell it from somebody that had been doing this half their life. You're hired." I still worked as an assignment editor for some time, but I quickly moved off into the reporting ranks, and that's what I really love to do. I had the opportunity to work for KCBS, which was CBS owned and operated news radio, and then at KGO-TV in San Francisco. But they were totally different experiences. They were different journalistic experiences. I must say that KCBS and KTVU were both, for me, the real learning grounds. Get the story and to get it right, to tell it fairly. And you have to apply that concept of fairness, that concept of balance, that concept of, really fighting for the truth that people need to know. You have to believe in that in order to carry it forward. And the people around you have to believe in it. Your bosses have to believe in it. Your colleagues have to believe in it. And they have to support you as you do it. I was making a lot more money in San Francisco when CNN first approached me. However, fortunately for me, and maybe fortunately for CNN, I got fired for insubordination. Because I don't think that we ought to be pumping phony stories out on television no matter where I work. So it was in 1981, in February, that I got the phone call from my old news director at KTVU, Channel 2, one of my inspirations, really, in my career, Ted Kavanaugh. And he brought me in to do documentaries for CNN. I was traveling so much with CNN, first as a national correspondent and then as an international correspondent, just working nonstop in different places. There were times when I would have a hotel room and suitcases on both the East and the West Coast. The dream came true in ways that I could have never imagined, because it's not just being a foreign correspondent. It's not just covering one locale or another locale. It's all about story after story after story, day after day, history unfolding at such a pace. It kept us traveling, kept me traveling all around the world. I like to tell people there's 4 Ps. All you really need is a pencil, a pad, and a phone, and you can become a reporter. But the 4th P is absolutely essential, and that's passion. Passion to tell the story. Passion to do the story right. Passion to dig, listen to all sides, and really represent the viewpoint of people that wouldn't be heard without you. Every journalist has to start their day asking, what am I going to do? What news am I going to break? What is a story that people haven't heard before? A story that affects a lot of people. You have to have an interest in doing that from the very start in order to do journalism and do it right. That commitment to excellence, that you're going to be accurate, that you're going to tell all sides of the story, or as many as you possibly can, and you're going to communicate with the audience so they understand it as well. Unique in all of my experience in 1989 and thereafter was in Czechoslovakia, then Czechoslovakia, now the Czech Republic, and Václav Havel. Here was a guy that I had watched personally take over the helm, and we never believed possible that he was going to become president. And it happened within a month of him being in a jail. Now, he'll tell you it was a lot longer than that because he was struggling on a very long road that really led to the student demonstrations that caused the communist system to collapse. I think that CNN revolutionized journalism in more ways than one. In the good way, CNN made it possible for us to cover stories 24 hours a day. There was no more, you had to tune in to see the news. You could get the news anytime you wanted to. That was great. We put correspondents around the world. That was great. We crossed international borders. No longer, with satellite television, no longer could dictators at their border stop the news from being told. But on the downside, we also proved that news could be profitable. You could make money off information. Ted Turner proved that. And with that, the corporations, the bigger corporations, moved into it. But their objective isn't necessarily to inform the public. Their objective is to make money. It's a business. And the mainstream media today is very much a business. Our expectations of news have changed as the technology has changed. Suddenly, we were not just doing news 24 hours a day, we were doing it all over the world. Barriers came down, borders became meaningless. We went from having to do a live shot with a 16-wheeler truck and literally tons of equipment to today being able to go out anywhere in the world with no more than a briefcase with a laptop and a camera and a satellite phone, and you can broadcast from anywhere. What we need to get back to is putting less emphasis on being just in a place to understanding a place, from putting less emphasis on being the first to tell the story to being the one who got the story the most accurate. And so there needs to be a reassessment, if you will. I think there has to be a fundamental recognition that most journalists are, by their very nature, somewhat liberal. And they look at the world from that perspective. Now, that's the way you want it to be because they are the ones who are so much more likely to actually take an honest look at something, to try to weigh what's true, what isn't true. Conservatives can do the same thing, but there's a greater tendency to adhere to the ideology first and the facts second. Why do all these leaders say that it's fake news? The news media itself are a bunch of liars. Because they don't like the news. There's no secret there. That's not hard to figure out. They don't like the news. And so they try to create their own. And a lot of times it is disinformation. A lot of times it is designed specifically just to support their political ambitions and political ideologies. So that's just one of the phenomena that we have to struggle with today. And the answer to it, to fake news and all of these problems, is to go back to investigative journalism, to go back to having your data, having your interviews, having your sources lined up and your observations, and presenting the facts, line by line editing. Can you back it up, or is it your opinion?